Okay, first off, I'd like to start out by apologizing for the absence of the cowboy hat. I wore it to the student section to Friday Night Lights this week, and I forgot to bring it back upstairs. So I just decided to go without it this week. I promise you, it will be back next week. Anyway, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Titans Rundown. I am your host, Micah McCamey, and in today's episode, we are going to be talking about NFL preseason week 3. Now, look, this week was pretty strong for the Titans. There weren't that many losers. I felt like there were a lot of winners, and I felt bad actually leading off some of the biggest winners of this week because there were just so many other people that had a great week. And I felt bad uh for having some of these losers on just because, well, you don't want to have a loser in preseason week 3. It's the last impression that the front office will get of you. So anyway, again, there is a lot of good stuff to get into with this episode, so let's get right on into it. Starting out with the winners, I have 3 winners, 3 losers. If you don't know the structure, you got to get used to it because, well, that is going to be the structure throughout the entirety of the regular season. Maybe a couple of more winners than losers, and sometimes more losers than winners, but you get the idea of the structure of this episode. So anyway, let's start out with the first winner. Okay, he's been a winner every single week of preseason. Obviously, Cam Ward. This week, he actually had the stats that made you realize, oh, this guy was actually good. He went 3 of 4 for 36 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, but played a pretty solid football game. And his only incompletion was, again, on just one of the weirder screen passes that we have designed. I still don't understand those, but anyway, this was his best game of the preseason, in my opinion. I completely respect anybody that wants to say that Tampa Bay was the best preseason outing that he did have, but I felt like that the first drive was so rough, combined with the nearly interception that he had and how it got dropped. And I completely understand, though, why you would want that game, but it's for those reasons that I felt like this was better. He played pretty mistake-free football. He had a couple of nice passes. Should have had a passing touchdown. I'm still upset about that. But overall, it was just a really solid game for Cam Ward. Specifically, we got to talk about this. He put a dime on Van Jefferson's chest. Like, absolutely perfect ball on the sideline. And it made me feel very happy, more so just because I just saw it and was just like, so is that an accurate enough pass for you, Van? Obviously, I'm still going to give him crap for that pass and how he handled that pass, even with some other things being taken into account. But again, Cam Ward, just a really solid week for this guy. Like, I am very happy that he played well, and I am confident in the fact that he will be the franchise quarterback and that he will show flashes this year. I 100% believe that even if the coaching staff ends up being bad and Callahan flames out halfway through the year, I still 100% believe that Cam Ward will be the quarterback of the future for this team. I think he'll be solid as long as we hire a decent head coach next. But anyway, that is my first winner of this game. The second winner that I have, the linebacker room. My gosh, the linebacker room. Okay, obviously Cody Barton, that's the obvious starter, one of the better linebackers in the league. I still think it's so ridiculous that he doesn't get re-signed whenever he goes somewhere. Like, I just don't get that. And I'm hoping that we give him an extension in 3 years from now, depending on how he looks, like if he's still playing really well. But been a great leader, energy guy, and all that stuff. That's great and all. But what we were really worried about was linebacker 2. Now, obviously, the biggest fight for this position, it was always going to be Cedric Gray or James Williams. Otis Reese was always kind of a dark horse. He got cut, but he was always kind of a dark horse throughout the offseason because of those really solid games that he had in his rookie year. Anthony, not going to say his last name, also was going to be in the mix the whole time just because of the veteran presence that he brought. And he ended up tearing his ACL just a little bit into the offseason. So just there was never really a chance that he was going to be the starter anyway. But still, like, if they wanted a solid veteran, he was always there. And obviously, because of this stuff, that ended up meaning that the linebacker 2 spot was down to 2 guys. So, which one won it? I don't know, honestly, because look, I was ready to give this up to James Williams. I was ready to give up on the Cedric Gray thing because y'all know I love myself some Cedric Gray. I've been thinking that he was going to be solid throughout just these past 2 years, and I should have stood by that because my gosh, he really came to life these last 2 preseason weeks. Got those starting reps during the week before preseason week 2, and he's just really showed out every time that he's been on the field. All over the field, he got a sack, he got a TFL just this last week. Just a really solid looking player. And I'm telling you, man, credits where credit is due. Ran Carthon was good at drafting linebackers. We kind of knew that with his history in San Francisco, but yeah, he could draft linebackers. Same thing goes for whoever the linebacker coach is, because if you were told at the beginning of the offseason that this guy would develop Cedric Gray and James Williams into two people that the Titans fans think, oh yeah, both of those guys I'd feel comfortable starting the NFL season with them as linebacker too. Nobody would believe you. Everybody would laugh at you. They'd think you're ridiculous and all this stuff. But the truth is that both of them ended up being really stinking solid. They are both very, very good linebackers. Okay, maybe not very, very good, but you get what I mean. They both have shown flashes of being solid linebackers in the league. And obviously, shout out to James Williams for getting that pick this last week. Great pressure from James Lynch off the edge. I just wanted to put that out there. I'm pretty sure his first name is James. Anyway, but again, I don't think the linebacker room is going to be that bad this year. I was really worried about it, that one of them was just going to be too raw and that we'd just be really worried about what if the other one gets hurt. But this has made me more and more comfortable about the linebacker position, and I think we're going to end up being okay there, no matter who starts. Also, we signed a linebacker off of waivers who was a third-round pick. He didn't really do that great whenever he was with the Minnesota Vikings, but I'm really hoping that we can get something out of him to where not even that he's just some amazing player, but that he's at least a solid depth piece this next year. But anyway, again, really happy about the linebacker room development, and I am very happy that is not going to be the weakest position on the field. Now, obviously, I would rather have the pass rush end up being the big surprise than the linebacker room. But still, if we cover long enough, we'll get a sack, right? Right? Anyway, again, just very happy about the performance of the linebacker room. Really strong stuff by them. And then the last winner of preseason, week 3, is Van Jefferson. Okay, look, I think we owe him an apology. This dude went off during this last week. 3 receptions, 102 yards, 160-yard touchdown. Just a really good game by Van Jefferson. He found himself open against the secondary. He had a dime from Cam Ward, and the other, again, the 60-yard touchdown. Just really good stuff by Van Jefferson. And honestly, do I think he'll end up being the wide receiver 3? No, I actually think that Alec has earned that spot as of recent. And who knows, maybe he'll be wide receiver 3 on the week 1 depth chart. I'd expect that to change. But just overall by Van Jefferson. Really good statement game to be hey, look, I know that I dropped that pass last week. This was his apology game too. And I think that we should offer him forgiveness for that because, yeah, he played really good again. And it's got me thinking, was Brian Callahan making some propaganda? Putting Van Jefferson out there, knowing that he could get him open and trying to make him look a lot better just so that way the fan base would calm down about him. So that way Callahan can be you see, this is why I'm starting him. I don't think that's really what's happening. I mean, I think that most people would agree with that. That's not what's going on. But it's just a funny thought to think about just because of just the rapid improvement that Van Jefferson had this past week. I mean, even in practice, he was killing it, catching deep bombs from Cam Ward and just overall being a good injury guy. Look, hey, again, Van Jefferson, I am sorry. Anyway, okay, again, overall, great game by Van Jefferson. Now, we got to talk about the losers of this game because even though there were just very few, there was one really big loser. There was another big loser that I think most people would be able to guess, but I'm kind of lumping him in with this because this would have never happened he would have never done what he did if it wasn't for this factor, and that's the coaching staff and or Brian Callahan. This wasn't a terribly called game. Like, obviously, I was complaining last week about, golly, the play calling was just not good. And I was just really upset about that. And it had me thinking, like, man, Callahan, what if he's just not the guy? And then this last week, I even said, like, look, I feel like that his play calling has gotten worse, but I feel like that his presence as a head coach has gotten better. Apparently not. This team was so undisciplined this week, so undisciplined, which should be a very bad sign for a head coach, because here's the thing, right? Whenever you have a good head coach for a bad football team, usually almost every single bad head coach can point to, hey, our team may have been bad this year, but look at how disciplined my team was. And that is what keeps people going. That's why GMs don't fire a head coach after a 4-13 season or 3-14 season, because they saw the discipline that the team had, and that even though they were absolutely terrible, they still at least had that going for them. Cam Ward. Brian Callahan does not have that going for him, and if he doesn't fix up the discipline, or he doesn't fix up the play calling and ends up calling like great games instead of just okay games, then he will be out the door halfway through the year. He's got to get that crap together. And here's the thing, right? I do want to ask this. If Brian Callahan were to get fired, again, let me know in the comment section, who do y'all want as head coach? Because, again, I've made my opinion pretty clear on this. I would love some Joe Brady. But, again, if you don't think he's head coaching material, I completely understand that. But, I don't know. I just think that he did a lot for Josh Allen in his past stint in Buffalo, just helping him rear back on the turnovers. Similar thing goes with his contributions to LSU, and we don't talk about the Carolina period of time. That was unfair to him. Bad quarterback play, bad team, bad offense around the quarterback again, and Matt Rule was just a terrible football head coach, at least in the NFL. Solid in college, terrible in the NFL. But anyway, and again, if we were to go with a defensive mind, I would want Jesse Minter, because again, the Harbaughs, they always consistently hire innovative minds at the defensive coordinator position, and the offensive coordinator is usually just like run the ball, but like I don't know what that was, but still, like, that was the philosophy of his offensive coordinators. But anyway, like, the defensive minds, though, they're always the innovators in the game. I mean, look at Mike McDonald. He's seeming like he's been a pretty good head coach so far with the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm just really hoping that this year the coaching staff can make the jump, but if they don't, I would be completely fine with one of those two candidates. Because here's the thing, next year I think that we have the best argument for having a great head for being a great destination for a new football head coach. Like, look, the Saints, they may have the first overall pick. They may be able to let me try and think. What am I trying to say? Oh, yeah, they may be able to draft a quarterback number 1 overall like Arch Manning, and everybody's going to want to go to them. But there's also the question of maybe Kellen Moore doesn't get fired after year 1. Maybe the team is shockingly competitive, and maybe the team actually ends up looking pretty decent, which leads to Kellen Moore keeping his job. I don't think they'll be good, but like maybe like they're extra disciplined, they stay competitive throughout the entirety of the season, like stuff like that. Like there's always that possibility, always. But also, a couple of other things. But anyway, but like I just don't understand why we wouldn't be one of the better situations for a head coach to walk into. I think our roster is a lot closer than people think. I think if we just get a decent enough pass rush, combined with some other factors like maybe getting some more youth into the secondary, and also getting like 1 or 2 more wide receivers, I do genuinely believe that this team could be in the mix for being a really solid football team within the next couple of years. All that we need is just a couple of like receivers or defensive players just to end up coming our way, right? Like, I think this team is really close. And of course, what offensive mind wouldn't want to come coach Cam Ward? Calm, cool, collected, great leader, great presence with the players. Like, all of that combined into it, I would think that that's why somebody would want to come and be the head coach of this football team if Callie were to get fired. Again, don't want him to get fired, but we got to think about the possibility just because he has just not looked that great as of recent. But anyway, got a little carried away on the losers for the coaching staff with the coaching staff, specifically Callahan, because again, Denard Wilson, I think, is a good defensive coordinator stuck with a not so great head coach. And Nick Holes, I don't really care for Nick Holes, let me be honest. But anyway, second loser is Kalel Mullins. Again, this is one of those where it was just like good performance, 6 rushes for 27 yards. It was just an unlucky injury. I just wanted to mention that one just really fast. But oh yeah, also, another loser was Jarvis Brownlee Jr. for slamming that dude to the ground. If you were curious, yes, that was what I was referring to whenever I said that the coaching staff being a negative kind of ties in to another thing that was an obvious loser. Like, again, more disciplinary head coach. Maybe Jarvis Brownlee Jr. doesn't slam that dude to the ground. Just saying. Anyway, last loser, I'm going to wrap this episode up real quick. Trevor Siemian, again, he played fine, 4 for 4 for 36 yards. But here was another thing. This was another minor winner. Brandon Allen was really solid. Like, he wasn't like just raise the roof and saying, like, it's not like now I'm going into the season like, oh yeah, that's a great backup quarterback. I still don't think he's all that great as a backup quarterback. But, like, he definitely proved himself last night and showed why the coaching staff thought, hey, let's put this guy as the third string or the second string quarterback instead of cutting him after the first week of preseason. And it makes me kind of upset because now Trevor Siemian is stuck at the third string spot. And honestly, I don't think Trevor Siemian's that bad. I actually think that he's a better backup because even though he doesn't have as high of a ceiling as Brandon Allen does, which again, Brandon Allen doesn't really have that much of a ceiling, I think that Trevor Siemian's floor is significantly better than the floor of Brandon Allen. Like, Brandon Allen could go in and throw 3 picks, or he could go in and throw like and have a really nice game manager game. Whenever Trevor Siemian plays, you know what you're getting. Like a 1 touchdown, no pick guy, or a 0 touchdown, 1 pick guy that goes in there, manages the game, and is just kind of fine, right? I mean, he has starting experience too, but anyway, just overall, Trevor Siemian, golly, it makes me upset just because I do think that he could be really good as the backup, but Brandon Allen played well enough to where he probably held Trevor Siemian off. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. Let me know what y'all thought of this last preseason week. Were there any losers that I missed out on? Were there any winners that you wanted me to discuss a little bit more? And also, again, I know that I keep bringing this up, but if the coaching staff doesn't work out and Callahan doesn't end up being a good head coach, who would y'all think y'all would want as the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans? Again, my answer is pretty obvious on this. I said that earlier. But anyway, yeah, I have Instagram and Twitter under the Titans Rundown if y'all want to go check those out. For anybody that's listening over podcasting, I have a YouTube channel, again, under the Titans Rundown if you want to see a visual version of this episode. But anyway, that's going to do it all for me. This has been a rundown of your Tennessee Titans. I love y'all, and tighten up.